Happy 100th birthday to the South Kaibab Trail. 100 years ago, in June 1925, it was completed. Why was a new trail needed in addition to the Bright Angel Trail? To understand the reason, the history of the trails into the canyon will help. By 1900, a steep rough trail named Bright Angel Trail had been improved to allow people to venture down into the depths of the Grand Canyon. It was mostly used by miners, hunters, and indigenous people. But once the railroad arrived at the South Rim in 1901, daring tourists on mules descended to Indian Garden, now called Havasupai Gardens, and some went all the way to the Colorado River. The Fred Harvey Company and the Santa Fe Railroad teamed up to develop the South Rim area with accommodations to attract the tourist business. They were in competition with Ralph Cameron, who had rights to Bright Angel Trail and Indian Garden. He charged a toll to anyone using his trail. On the North Rim side of the canyon, a very rough trail, also called Bright Angel Trail, came down into the canyon from the head of Bright Angel Canyon. It was controlled by the Grand Canyon Transportation Company of Utah, operated by D. Woolley of Kanab, Utah, and his son-in-law, Dave Rust. The trail from the North Rim was hacked out in 1903, but involved more than 100 creek crossings to get to the Rust camp near today's Phantom Ranch and to the Colorado River. In 1907, Rust built a cable tram across the Colorado River, a cage on a cable, which allowed rim-to-rim travel without using a boat across the dangerous river. It was situated at the location of present-day Black Bridge. Using the cable tram became popular among hunters who wanted to go to the North Rim to hunt deer or mountain lions. The Bright Angel Trail did not get you to the cable tram. It only took you to the Colorado River at the mouth of Pipe Creek. There was no river trail yet. A trail was needed to descend 1,200 feet from present-day tip-off to the cable tram location. A very rough and steep miner's trail existed, but it needed to be greatly improved. Cameron was in favor of improving the trail, but offered no funds, so in 1908, Rust and the Grand Canyon Transportation Company built what was called the cable trail that came down, starting a little to the west of tip-off. In 1909, to get to the cable tram, travelers at Indian Garden would head east across the Tonto Trail to tip off and then head down the cable trail to the aerial tramway. Louise Pratt rode mules down the scary cable trail and wrote,
"It looked almost straight down. We could see the descent all at once and it looked mighty steep and an awful long way down. I told my husband when we got off the mules, well, if you want to ride any more of those zigzag trails, you'll have to ride them without me. You ride them if you want to, but I will stay at the hotel."
Starting in 1912, Cameron no longer had personal control of the Bright Angel Trail. Coconino County took over ownership of the trail. Toll collection continued, generating large annual revenue. In 1919, the Grand Canyon National Park was established. Cameron helped defeat a measure that would have sold Bright Angel Trail to the federal government. Tolls collected at the trailhead of Bright Angel Trail by the county continued. This made it difficult for the national park to manage the inner canyon, including Phantom Ranch, which was built in 1922. A swinging suspension bridge was constructed to replace the cable tram, allowing mules to cross one at a time. A visitor from Kansas City wrote,
"I fancied that bridge would swing a good deal, and I was right. It swung even under my feet, and when Alec came pounding along behind, it nearly rocked me to sleep."
Construction of South Kaibab Trail. As more tourists wanted to stay in Phantom Ranch, the park knew that a new, shorter trail was needed to bring them down. Plans came together for a new trail coming down from Yaki Point, about 4 miles east of El Tovar Hotel. It would descend to tip off and connect to the cable trail. Park engineer, Minor Tillotson, projected that it would take only 5 months to complete. Work began on December 1, 1924. 2 busloads of 21 young Mormon workers arrived after a long drive from Fredonia, Arizona. The Interior Department's promotion for the trail included,
"The new trail will be by far the most scenic trail in the canyon as it winds its way down the walls along a ridge jutting out into the abyss from which magnificent views of the canyon will be seen. The current trails follow depressions, and the views are hemmed in by the ridges on either side. The steep grades, short zigzags, and other features that shake the nerves of the inexperienced rider will be eliminated. Strong guard rails will be placed at points where the tenderfoot is apt to become nervous. It is hoped that everyone who so desires may make trips into the canyon without the ever-present fear that it can be done only at the risk of one's life.
In comparison to Bright Angel Trail, it was noted that the new trail would be in sunlight nearly the entire way compared to the freezing shade of the Bright Angel Trail during the winter. Cost estimates were $40,000 but were doubted by critics. This new trail was first called Yaki Trail, or Yaki Point Trail during construction. The Fred Harvey Company wanted it to be called Phantom Trail because it would lead directly to Phantom Ranch. Park Superintendent John Eakin recommended that it be named Kaibab Trail because it would offer a short route to the Kaibab Forest on the North Rim. That name was chosen. The word Kaibab in the Paiute language means mountain lying down. There was local resistance against the trail, and many hoped it would fail. Others countered.
Some unthinking persons have thought that the new trail might interfere with Bright Angel, but on the whole, it will rather benefit Bright Angel by drawing more attention to the delight of a trip down to the river and inducing more people to take the trail trips. There is plenty of room for several trails into the canyon. The day will come when a number of trails will be needed to accommodate the people desiring to make the trail trip.
Construction of the Kaibab Trail used modern equipment that was being used to make automobile roads, such as compressors and jackhammers. Stray drill bits may still be found, along with traces of old drilling holes in the rock faces. At one point, the rock was so hard it took 17 freshly sharpened bits to drill an 8-inch hole. Work was delayed at times when the compressor broke down and needed spare parts. The trail was designed for nearly year-round sun, thus minimizing snow. The maximum grade was to be 18% compared to a steep 36% grade on portions of Bright Angel Trail. The minimum width was to be 4.5 feet. They built a permanent camp near the trailhead. 2 crews worked simultaneously, one going down from the top and the other starting at the bottom, including a serious renovation of the cable trail, replacing steep descents with sweeping long switchbacks. They also wanted to eliminate any trace of abandoned sections of the old trail. After 5 weeks, 1.5 miles of trail were completed. After 4 months, 3.3 miles was complete. Progress was slower than expected because of harsh weather. The crews worked through snowstorms. A young man, Ralph Pearson from Bloomington, Illinois, traveled on a mule train going down to the bridge during the trail construction. He wrote,
"The trail was almost straight up and down, but so wonderfully constructed that it was as safe as a boulevard. The trail workers on the new Yaki Government Trail were blasting away, and it sounded like a battle was going on in the canyon, but the mules didn't mind."
After only 6 months, in June 1925, the South Kaibab Trail was finished at a cost of $73,000. During late June, a large congressional delegation, guided by Park Superintendent John Eakin, made a interim crossing, starting at the North Rim. After heading down the still rough Northern Trail, they spent the night at Phantom Ranch, crossed the river using the swinging suspension bridge, and then were the first official group to climb up the new Kaibab Trail. All in the delegation were enthusiastic in their praise of the trail, both the grandeur of the scenery and the ease with which the trip was made. One member of this party reported,
"It is one of the most marvelous pieces of trail engineering ever seen. The grade is easy and the trail itself is so broad that even people overcome with dizziness when traveling over the ordinary mountain trail need have no misgivings when traveling on the trail."
The Kaibab Trail was dedicated on June 25, 1925. The first mule train went to Phantom Ranch using the trail the next day. Foreman Frank Plumley, a blacksmith, said,
"The new trail is broad and firm and of easy grades, and one could go it on a motorcycle. In addition to its width and low grades, it is built upon solid rock and is as safe as a city street."
It was later reported that the trail below tip-off was still rather rugged.
The ride presents many thrills as the plodding mules pick their way down over the loose rock and chuck holes.
Soon, tourist traffic increased to Phantom Ranch. 2-day mule trips across the canyon were taking place using both the South Kaibab Trail and the Bright Angel Trail going up to the North Rim. A 1925 tourist, Leona Powell, wrote,
"Blasted out of solid rock for the most part, the trail leads up and around the cliffs in a gradual rise, a broad smooth path of 5 feet. The views of the canyon are superb. Sometimes it led round a point where, standing on the very brink of the precipice, we looked far in front and to the right and to the left at the mighty canyon. while behind us reared another mountain of rock, which we must scale ere we reach the top.
Critics still thought the new trail was a waste of money and just a way to make the county-controlled Bright Angel Trail worthless. The point was even argued in Washington, D.C. Congressman Lewis Crampton of Michigan, the chairman of the Interior Department Appropriations Subcommittee, said,
Bright Angel Trail will always serve a purpose. The Indian gardens which are reached by it can be made a most wonderful place.
With the Kaibab Trail, the park gained independence in the inner canyon. No longer would private interests hold sway over the destiny of the mighty chasm. In 1928, the park finally also got control of Bright Angel Trail and eliminated the tolls. They now had two amazing trails that could take tourists down to the Colorado River and to Phantom Ranch. Happy 100th birthday to the South Kaibab Trail.
This video was written and produced by Davy Crockett for the Grand Canyon Historical Society. Visit us at grandcanyonhistory.org. Help us continue to preserve and share the history of Grand Canyon by becoming a member of the Society. Also, use the subscribe button below to receive more videos like this one.